Low Carb Bagels? I'll be the judge of that. Welcome to Highfalutin Low Carb, the almost weekly web series where we find and test the best low carb recipes this crazy internet has to offer. Today, we're going to be testing low carb bagels. Stay tuned. There's a cafe diner in Jackson, Mississippi, where the staff wears a t-shirt that really brings home my motto. It says, "Biscuits are just like bagels, except they're soft and they're warm and they taste good." That's sort of the way I feel about bagels. Now, I do understand that the rest of the world loves bagels. So today we're going to be testing a couple of recipes for bagels. As you know, bagels are traditionally boiled. Flour-made bagels are boiled and then baked. And that gives you that hard, kind of crusty exterior and the soft interior that makes the chew and the bite that makes a bagel a bagel. As you also know, in the keto and low carb world, our flours and breads that we use will not lend themselves to being boiled. You cannot introduce water or you just make a stew. So we have to sort of mimic that in the best way we can. And one of the best, after some research on this, one of the best ways to do that is fathead dough. Fathead dough is ubiquitous in the low carb and keto world. So today we're going to be testing two bagel recipes that are the most popular ones online, basically. One of them is traditional fathead dough that is made with almond flour. And because a lot of my viewers and a lot of people on eating low carb period are intolerant of nuts, can't eat nuts, allergic to nuts, don't like the calories that are in a lot of the nut flours, we're also doing coconut flour-based fathead dough. So let's get started. All right, so our first recipe comes to us from a name that you know very well on this channel. In fact, both of these recipes are very popular in the low carb and keto universe. The first one is by WholesomeYum.com. The second one's gonna be by LowCarbYum.com. And as you know, on my channel, I very seldom give exact measurements for these recipes. This is not my work. I did not create these recipes. We are here to test these recipes and see who has the best bagel recipe. So if I don't list exact ingredients, there's a reason why, because I want to send you to their website or their YouTube channel to look at the recipe. It's all available online, and they're the ones that did the hard work, and they deserve the traffic for that. So that's why sometimes you don't see exact measurements listed here. But today our first recipe is by Wholesome Yum, and it's keto low carb bagels recipe with fathead dough, gluten-free. That's the full name of the recipe. So, and this is the fathead dough recipe that starts with almond flour. And as you know, fathead dough is something you got to work pretty quickly with. It starts by melting some cheese and cream cheese and things, and then working it really well, and then trying to move pretty quickly with it. Now, before we get started, I'm going to freeform some of these. Here's the variant here. For each recipe makes 6 bagels. I'm going to make three of them freeform on a sheet pan, and then I'm also going to use a mold, a silicone donut bagel mold. These are cheap and available on Amazon or anywhere. I'll leave a link down below. And also, incidentally, the recipes for both of these are going to be in the video description below. So take a look for those. So we're going to do 3 in a pan form. We're going to do 3 free form and see what the difference is. See if it really makes a difference and if you really have to shell out for one of these. So, all right, let's get started. This is from Wholesome Yum. This is the almond flour-based recipe. And we're going to start with some almond flour. And as you know, what do I always say? Sift your almond flour. I store mine in the freezer. It just keeps it fresher longer. And because of that, obviously, you see what all is created here. So just make sure you sift through this. And I'm also going to add the baking powder to this while I'm sifting. It's important that all of this gets incorporated. That's one of the most important parts of fathead dough. There cannot be pieces of cheese separate from the flour. There just can't be. That's not going to work for you. You're going to wind up with cheesy bread. And what is so magical about fathead dough is that even though it's made with a base of mozzarella cheese, it don't taste like cheese. It tastes like bread. But if you don't knead it well and incorporate it well, you just gonna wind up with cheesy bread. So we don't want that. Okay, so this is our almond flour and our baking powder, and you just want to make sure this is fairly evenly combined. That's a small amount of baking powder to incorporate in a large amount of almond flour. Get off of there. And you just want to make sure it's even. All right, so set that aside. Now, from here, this is where you kind of have to work quickly. Here's our mozzarella cheese. This has to be hard mozzarella. It cannot be the fresh buffalo mozzarella, or the mozzarella cheese that is packed in liquid and is stringy and beautiful and usually expensive, and it is true authentic mozzarella. That will not work for fathead dough, and that's one of the most common complaints you see about fathead dough. Mine just spread out all over the place. You do a little investigation and you find out that they used fresh mozzarella because they probably thought it was a better product. No, 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 no. This has to be a hard block of mozzarella cheese that you have grated, or if you choose and you feel comfortable with it, you can use the pre-shredded mozzarella. But either way, it needs to say part skim, low moisture. So mozzarella cheese, this goes in the microwave for a couple of minutes, and you got to stir it. It also includes cream cheese. So we're mixing cream cheese, mozzarella cheese, putting this in the microwave, going to put it in for a minute, stir it, put it in for another minute, stir it, and then I'll be right back and you'll see why. All right, so we're back, and this is where we've got to work pretty quickly. You see how soft and how stringy this is? We need to quickly add to this our almond flour and keep working this. It's going to get sticky and stringy as you use it, and we're about to get our hands dirty. And this also you have to add, you need a big bowl, big old bowl, and you also need to add 2 beaten eggs to this. If it happens to get too firm and dry and you can't work with it, then you're going to need to put it back in the microwave for 15, 20 seconds at a time. So try to get this work together. You cannot have separate parts of cheese that are not mixed into this bread. So once you get it to a point where you think you've got some of it working, throw this down and get in it with your hands. Be careful that it's not too hot. My microwave took me exactly 2 minutes. So you want to knead this sort of like a regular bread, and just keep working it. We put the oven on 400. Both of these recipes require the bagels to be cooked at 400. Okay, so I put a little avocado oil in a ramekin just to sort of oil my hands up a little bit. It helps keep this off of you. So, oh yeah, see? Much better. Get out of there. Now let's try to make, okay, that's going to be 1 bagel, 2 bagels. Now this is the first time I've made made bagels out of this recipe. So I'm concerned as to how I'm going to get enough dough to make a bagel. But it does rise, because it's got the baking powder in it. So let's freeform one of these. So you make it in a ball, right? Make it in a log, roll it. And then like you would think, like you're making with Play-Doh, you're gonna make a bagel shape. Connect it, make sure you got your bagel hole there. And we just keep going with this. Okay, so now we're going to put 3 in our little donut bagel mold that I got from Amazon and just see if it's any different. I'm guessing, because this gives no room for it to spread out, that they're going to be thicker and may take a little longer to cook than the, I'm assuming I don't need oil in that they're going to be thicker and probably, because of that, need a little more cooking time than the ones on the baking sheet that are probably going to spread a little more. But that's what we're here to find out. If you've tried other bagel recipes, low-carb bagel recipes that you like that's not one of these, let me know down in the comments below. I'm always keen to revisit this and any of my recipe battles because I learn a lot from you guys in the comments. I probably learn more from you than you do from me. Definitely do. Certainly do. So let me know. Okay, so we're going to put in a little bit of a topping on these just so I can, you know, see what it's like. I'm using some black sesame seeds and some organic poppy seeds. So you just sprinkle a few on, you don't need much. We'll kind of push them on here in a minute. Boy, that bagel right there is a different size than that other one. Wasn't real good at portioning them out. So we're going to find out how bad this is going to turn out or how good it's going to turn out. All right. These go into a 400-degree oven, and that's for 12 minutes, it says. So I'm going to put these in the oven. Again, links to all of these recipes, this one and the other one, are in my video description below, so be sure to check those out. So in the oven, 400 degrees, 12 minutes. I'll meet you back here. Okie dokie, okie finoki. We are done. These are out. I just wanted to show them to you because they look really good. Now, the baking times for me personally were off a little bit. She said 10 to 12 minutes, 10 to 14 minutes, I think. I had to bake the flat ones on the flat sheet for about 15 to 16 minutes. The ones in my donut molds, because they're thicker, I guess, these actually took almost 20 minutes, about 19 to 20 minutes. But boy, they are beautiful. I mean, look at that. Looks really good. They even rose. So I'm going to let these cool on the back, and we're going to set up for the next recipe, and I'll meet you back here in 5, 4, 3, 2, and we're back. All right, we've set up for the next recipe, and this is the one, also Fathead dough by Low Carb Yum, and the name of this recipe is Low Carb Bagels Coconut Flour Fathead Dough. Now, when I set this up, I used a scale. The other one was in measurements, cups, half cups, teaspoons, tablespoons. This one was in grams. And there's a reason for that, and I'm gonna just tell you, the best investment you can make for your kitchen is a cheap scale. I use a little Ozeri, like 10 bucks on Amazon. I'll put a link down below. This is one of the best things you can do, not only for measuring portion sizes, but sometimes when you're making baked goods, it really matters exact amounts. Almond flour, you can fudge a little bit either way, and it's gonna be okay. You'll deal with it. But coconut flour, and this is what every recipe, as a recipe developer myself, anytime you make a recipe that contains almond flour, the first comment you're ever gonna get is, can I make this with coconut flour? No, you can't. I mean, you can. The problem is such a major difference between the amount of almond flour and coconut flour that you need that it is never a one-to-one. And in fact, for this recipe, the amount of cheese that we use is the exact same, right? The amount of mozzarella cheese we're going to use for this Fathead dough. The difference in the coconut flour, we used about a fifth less. So for the almond flour, about 5 times more almond flour than what we're going to use for coconut. So we measured this out, and as you can see, it's a much smaller amount. So anyway, my point is, you cannot do a one-to-one exchange for coconut flour and almond flour. So props to Low Carb Yum for doing the work to make Fathead dough, this Fathead dough recipe, into something using coconut flour, because that is a lot of testing. So we're going to start with the coconut flour, and to the coconut flour we're going to add the baking powder. So to our mozzarella cheese, we're going to add our cream cheese. Just like the other recipe, this goes in the microwave for a minute, stir it, 1 minute more, stir it, and then we're gonna work very quickly. So I'll meet you back here. So this has been in the microwave for 2 minutes. This is where we've gotta work quickly. Unlike the other recipe, this one calls for a little bit of melted butter. Okay, add that in. Calls for some beaten eggs. We've got an extra egg in this recipe than in the other one. And lastly, our coconut flour and baking powder mixture. And then this is where we just gotta get after it. Okay, let's shape these up. Just like the other one, I'm gonna do 3 in a pan and 3 in my other little thing. These come 2 to a pack, the ones I bought, the ones I've linked below. And I'm just curious to see how that works. Now these are going to go in, again, a 400 degree oven. The oven's still on 400. This one says, how long to cook it? 16 minutes. I bet you it's going to take a little more time. Again, this is probably going to be thicker. So I'm going to let these cook, and then I'm going to let them both cool so that they're touchable and we can taste them. And I will meet you back here as soon as it's all done. Hang tight. All right, boys and girls, we are back, and it's time to admire our beautiful bagel creations. All right, I have divided these here. This side is the coconut flour. This side is the almond flour. Based on the information provided by the recipe developers, the coconut flour, this is Low Carb Bagels Coconut Flour Fathead Dough by Low Carb Yum. These have, per bagel, 234 calories, 16 grams of fat. There's 7 total carbs, 3 grams of fiber, so there's 4 net carbs in one of these bagels. Protein was 14 grams. Now, this side over here is Keto Low Carb Bagels recipe with Fathead dough, gluten-free. This is by Wholesome Yum, and according to their nutritional stats, one bagel is 360 calories, 28 grams of fat. There's 8 grams of total carbs, there's 3 grams of fiber, making these 5 net carbs and 21 grams of protein. So coconut flour is 4 net carbs each, almond flour is 5 net carbs each, and now it's just about seeing which one of these is the best. So there's only one way to do that. Now I gotta say, this row here is the little donut bagel pan, and of course they're smaller in diameter, but they're thicker. So I guess, and then this is the ones that were made on the sheet pan and just wrapped in a loop, and they spread out more. So I guess it's just depending on how you like your bagel. If you like a thicker bagel, use the bagel pan, the little silicone things. They're cheap. And if you like a wider one, but so like, let me just show you. I don't know if you can see this, the difference in thickness. There's a lot of difference in diameter, but there's a great difference in thickness. So if you were going to make a sandwich out of this, maybe that's the way to go. Here is an example of the coconut flour one. Again, oops, the same thing. Now these sesame seeds are going everywhere. Sesame seeds are like the glitter of the culinary world. I'm gonna be sweeping this up from now to Christmas, but small price to pay. So let's bust into one of these things and see what we happen. Let's try the almond flour ones first, since those are the ones we started with originally. I'm gonna take this big fat guy right here in the middle and just cut him. Ooh, yes, yep, that looks pretty good. Interior's nice. It does have the telltale fathead dough feel to it. It's kind of oily. You can see what it's leaving there. So let's taste one of these. Let's try it with the seeds on top. Pretty good. Does it taste like a New York bagel? Mm-mm. Nope. Is it good? Mm-hmm. Sure is. That'd be great with a sandwich, on a bagel sandwich. We're about to try it too, as you can see over here. This is where, like, okay, so you see how much thinner this one is. So if you were going to do a sandwich, this guy would be hard. Well, it's not too hard. Yeah, see, you've got a much thinner piece of bread, but that looks pretty darn good. Just reading some of the comments, a lot of people say they make these and freeze them. And then pop them in the toaster oven. One tip is that before you freeze them and put them in a Ziploc bag, cut them first. Cut them while they're fresh, and then freeze them. And then when you go to cook them for, throw them in the toaster or the toaster oven for a breakfast in the morning, they're already split. You don't have to worry about fighting with all that mess, and they cook faster. So that was the almond flour. Let's try the coconut flour. Let's do this guy right here. He's big and fat, and as you can see, look how big he is. He is big. That's pretty. I can tell you right now, I am excited to use that pan for a donut battle. Stay tuned. All right, this guy, wow, okay. Fluffier texture. It is a little softer It is a little softer on the interior, but the exterior seems to be a little firmer. Let's see. Wow. I was expecting the coconut flour to add sweetness to it, and it didn't. Texture-wise, I prefer the coconut flour one, and that is unusual for me. I usually like almond flour things more than coconut flour. And again, if you're just thinking about price, I mean, this was, I'm not real great at math, but this was like 5 times more almond flour that was required than the coconut flour, and you still wound up with basically the same size bagels. These might actually be bigger. This had 1 extra egg, but all right, let's cut one of the thin ones and see if that changed anything. Again, for a sandwich, a big wide sandwich, you know, you're gonna have a breakfast sandwich with, she's pretty. Doesn't have a hole in her in the bagel, but hey, that's just, you know, semantics. Okay. Yeah. Wow. That is so savory. I was not expecting that. Darn, that is good. Like, I know I made a joke earlier about biscuits are just like bagels. They're just soft and warm and they taste good. That's good. I mean, like real good. So, doggone, that's kind of exciting. All right, so let's see what we can do if we were to take one of these. Because the way you're going to serve it, look how pretty that is. I mean, that is pretty. Look at the bottom of it. Woo! This is just some of that softened cream cheese. There's 1 gram of carbs per tablespoon of this. So the way you're probably going to do this, here's why I don't like a bagel. There's a hole in the middle and you get your mess all over your hand. But, oh well. But if you were going to make a little breakfast sandwich here, put you some, yeah, and then maybe a little smoked salmon. Ooh, y'all. Okay. Yep. All day, every day. Low Carb Yum. Check her website out. Like I said, the links to both of these are below. And I don't know who this is. What is her name? I don't see a name. I say her. I don't know who it is, but honey, if I ever meet you, I'm gonna hug your neck so hard because gosh, that is good. So there you have it, folks. Low carb bagels. It is a possibility, and I really enjoyed them. If you're not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button down below. This is what we do on this channel. We find the best low carb and keto recipes, pit them against one another, and we determine a winner. If you are already a subscriber, be sure to hit the bell button down below. That lets you know just as soon as I release a new video. If you want to help me and help this channel grow, share this video, but more importantly, hit the like button, the big thumb down there, and leave a comment below. Believe it or not, that's one of the most important things you can do for a small channel like mine. It lets the YouTube and Google computer out there know that, hey, people like this, and let's share it with some other people. It's one of the most important factors of growth for a channel. So if you like what I'm doing here, please hit the like button and leave me a comment down below. Even if it's just a thumbs up or a heart or a thank you or you suck or whatever you want to say, it helps me. If you want to check out my Patreon account, there is a link down below. If you don't know what Patreon is, think of it as the tip jar for the internet. It allows people like you who enjoy what people like me are doing here on YouTube, and you can give us $1 or $2 a month just to sort of help kind of keep this train on the tracks. Otherwise, I will see you here in a couple of weeks with another low carb battle. And yeah, thanks guys. I love you. See you soon.